All right, so ready to do the ting ting?
All right. Have to burp.
You want me to pat the back of my phone?
I burp myself.
I'm patting you on the back right now.
Yeah, okay.
Hey, welcome to the Reset with Nico, Bleu, and Kenny Burns. That's me. We discuss the hot topics of the last week. It is June 13th. This is 2020. Nico, is that good grammar? The last week?
We discussed the hot topics.
We discussed the hot topics of the last week, or should it be we discussed the hot topics of last week? I think it's the
last week's hot topics.
Oh, and by the way, I am frustrated and frustrated with you, both of them.
Oh, okay. I can accept some frustration. I don't know what that other thing is.
Well, I don't
know
what both of them because my beard is mad crunchy right now. I ain't eating nothing.
Come get your Bleu Botanicals, bro. So come get it.
My beard oil has already been made. It's pre-made for me because
I will make it. I will stop this recording right now and make it right now if that's what you want me to do. Otherwise, I can make it afterwards.
All right.
Yeah, it looks a little scratchy. I don't know.
It's a little it's a little crunchy. Your boy ain't eating nothing, and I'm crunching.
I don't know how your ladies are dealing with that.
Yeah, I don't know how I'm dealing with it. This is what I use to scratch my arm. This little Brillo pad I got over here.
Oh, you can wash the dishes with it. That's awesome.
All right, Nico. So what are we getting into today?
We've got an update from what we talked about last week with August Alsina, Jada, and Will. The word of the week is entanglement. Man, how many memes have you seen with entanglement?
Oh, every meme. Like every meme has hashtag entanglement. Yeah.
I've seen memes. I've seen like songs. Even Erykah Badu launched some entanglement incense.
Is that right? I didn't even know I didn't know that was a thing.
Okay, so here's the update. Red Table Talk happened. It was just Jada and Will together. And I think they did a pretty brilliant job of just sort of breaking things down that happened. So the story is that Will and Jada were separated at the time of the entanglement. They were separated and they honestly didn't think that they were getting back together. Will had said that he did not think that he was ever going to speak to Jada again. That's how bad things were in their relationship. Jada said originally when she first met August, as I said before, through Jaden, he was very, very sick. He was sick, I think, in probably a variety of ways, physically, mentally, emotionally. He was just sort of like broken down. And so the original intent was to help him heal. She was, helping him just try to get better and heal. And then it's sort of, as she put it, she kind of got into an entanglement. As Will called her out immediately when she said this. He said, "Oh, entanglement?
Right.
Do you mean a relationship?" And then she said, "A relationship? Yes, I got into a relationship." So that's what happened. She got entangled with August for a few years. However, at the same time, although she and Will were separated, they sort of got onto their own healing journey. And at a certain point, August decided that he didn't want to speak to Jada anymore and kind of exited the relationship. And she said she's barely spoken to him since, or hasn't really spoken to him in a very long time. She
Probably
admitted,
healthy for him. Yeah.
Oh, totally. I mean, can you imagine that situation? She admitted that that she has a codependent nature, which means that it's very often people who dive into saving other people, rescuing other people, fixing other people as a means of avoiding themselves and their own personal issues. And so she admitted that that's an issue that she has. Overall, Will and Jada are good. They say that there is nothing that could cause either one of them to not have the other's back. They will always have each other's back. They don't claim that they are in a marriage anymore. They refer to it as like a life partnership. They also definitely alluded to the fact of, that Will has had his relationships outside of their marriage as well. he made a joke about like, oh, I'm going to have to get you back. And she said,
Yeah.
you've gotten me back plenty. And he's like, yeah, I guess
Well,
I probably
for
have.
me, that was a lot of his pride talking in, because
Yes.
I think what he what he felt like he had to do was, number one, be on there with her. They probably mutually agreed that it was just best for them both to be there.
Absolutely.
And I think as a guy, we have pride, especially when it comes to our women, you know, the women that we're with. And I think for him, this is something that he's already lived. He's already lived this life, and for us, this is brand new. So we're getting all of this information now, and now he's having to relive what was litigated 5 years ago, 4, 6, 7, whatever. And so I feel bad for him, because for me, I feel like they have moved past that, and they're way over it. And then now
and they said that, yeah.
Yeah, and it's been difficult, because it's been a lot of people online like they shouldn't have brought this, you know, out to everyone. They shouldn't have told everyone that you know, all of this stuff that they're getting in the comments. And I'm like, well, they didn't want to. If August hadn't have talked to Angela Yee, they wouldn't have. To me, you had to pick one. You had to either pick to not say anything or say something. And if they didn't say anything, you're perpetuating all the rumors, and it's just going to get worse. To me, they did the right thing. They picked the lesser of two evils here, and I felt like they had to say something. And it's not that far-fetched what's going on. I mean, you know, I won't say who, but I have family members that are in a very similar situation where they're still married. They have no plans to get divorced, but they are understanding and communicative with one another that this is how it is. I'm dating this person. You're dating that person. To me, it's not a abnormal thing. It's a thing that a lot of couples and married folks are going through.
Definitely the interview gave me even more respect for them. I feel very much like the only reason they did this, the only reason that they came out and confirmed, was because they felt like they had to do it for August. I think Jada,
I can see that, yeah.
Jada in particular is aware, and I know, of course, Will is aware as well, that he is a very vulnerable person. He has been through a lot in his life. We talked before about the molestation. His brother was murdered. He's just had countless things in his life that have just so much trauma. And it was so painfully obvious in the video that he did with Angela Yee that he still was not okay. He was not recovered. He's still in a lot of pain. And I think they both knew that the right thing to do was just to come out, validate what he was saying, and move forward. Because you just never know when somebody is on the edge, and you just don't want to be the reason to like send somebody over the edge. And so it was just, I think under most normal circumstances, and they even alluded to it, I don't think they would have said anything. Like if it was someone just trying to get headlines, but it really does seem like he's vulnerable. He's vulnerable, and he needed that support.
This is an opinion more so than anything. But do you think that she was his first love? I don't even know if he ever talked about that.
I'm not sure if he talked about that, but I kind of got the impression that he had never experienced love of that magnitude.
Yeah.
I mean, it was, you could tell. I mean, when he said that he was good in life now because of experiencing that, it was sort of fatalistic. And again, I am so confident that is why they felt the need to address this. I think if it was anyone else, if it was like one of, Will's women who just was like trying to get some attention, I don't think they would have even acknowledged it. But because they understand the state that August is in, and ultimately, as she kept saying, there's a lot of love there. She loves him and cares for his well-being, and they just felt like this is what they needed to do. And I respect that. I think that was the right thing for them to do as well. And yeah, it's unfortunate to see them, they are getting dragged. People are saying pretty foul things about Jada, and everyone's telling Will that he needs to leave her and he could do better. And that this is so toxic. But
I disagree. I think they know things better than obviously the public knows. They know what happened in their home and things like that. And it's very difficult. You and I talk about this all the time, to find that what you would call life partner. That is not the divorce rate is so high overall in the entire world. You know, people are going to have problems. You know, no one's perfect. All of these people sort of casting and throwing stones at glass houses. It's like, you probably have similar issues, similar problems in your relationship, and they are able to understand. Now, granted, they do have better resources than most people, and they're able to, you know, de-stress a lot easier. You know, if you are having a problem with your spouse or significant other, and a trip to Jamaica can heal a lot of that, but not everyone can do that. Not everyone has those resources. So I get it that they have better resources than most people, but you still have to give them some kudos for saying, no, we're in this bad marriage for life. High five. You know, like,
bad marriage for life. Now,
you got to
one
give them kudos
thing
for
that I think is that just really stood out to me, what they said that they've never had in their relationship is they've never had secrets. So we know that both of them have kind of done their own thing at different times, but they've been honest with each other about where they are and what they're doing. And to me, that's one of the key things that allows two people to be able to stick it out through thick and thin. If I know that I can just trust you to tell me the truth, even if the truth is that you hate me right now, that you don't want to see me, if the truth is that you're in love with somebody else or you want to be with somebody else, whatever the truth is, if you can just continue to respect me enough to tell me the truth, then we can work through this. And I respect that.
My thing, just to piggyback on your statement, the truth, no matter how much it may hurt, the truth is healing. When you lie, that's toxic. That's when things, you know, you can lie and have these good moments that continue. Like if you're cheating on someone, you're lying about it, and 2 weeks from now, like you can lie and the good life will stay. But at some point that toxicity is going to creep in, and you're going to not view your significant other the same way you used to because of this other person. Like there's so many toxic things that happen, you know, because of the lies, that you just want to be truthful. Just be truthful, be open, be honest, and don't hurt your significant other. If you're with someone and you claim to love them, then your goal should not be to hurt them.
Okay, next up, Tucker Carlson.
I've been waiting to talk about this.
I know you have. I know you have. So CNN media reporter Oliver Darcy broke the story, I think it was Friday, this past Friday, that Tucker Carlson, who has the most popular show on Fox News, that his lead writer was discovered to be posting unbelievably vile, racist, sexist, homophobic comments using a pseudonym on one of those just online forums. You know that there are those websites where just people go to spew hate, and it's gross. They're And so this is what the guy's name is, Blake Neff, and he has been writing for Tucker Carlson for years. Carlson has credited Neff for helping to shape the opinions and the monologues of his show. In a recent article, Neff even stated, anything Tucker Carlson is reading off the teleprompter, the first draft was written by me.
Right.
And I think it's really notable too that this is the most watched show in cable news history.
Yep.
In cable news history, not Fox history, in cable news history. Trump, our president, many times repeats Carlson's opinions, his thoughts, his ideas. He'll post them. So the thoughts of this incredibly vile, racist person basically are coming out through the president of the United States.
Through them. And they will try to deny it. Before I get started, let me ask you a question. Would you let do
Okay.
LASIK eye surgery on you for 50% off?
I don't want to say the comments. I don't want to say,
I'm like,
I do not want to repeat the things that he said on this show.
this guy. Okay. There is a gentleman named Lee Atwater, I believe. He was Ronald Reagan's advisor and George H.W. Bush's advisor. And he pretty much gave the blueprint. He basically opened up the door into what the people like Tucker Carlson, Donald Trump, people of their ilk, what their strategy is. Their Southern strategy when it comes to dog whistling. So Lee Atwater said that you start out by saying the N-word. You start off by saying it, but by 1950, 1960, late 60s and early 70s, now you can't say that anymore. It becomes like it blows up in your face. And then you start saying, well, okay, let's say this. Let's say forced busing. Let's say states' rights. And then you fast forward to today and you say Barack Hussein Obama. You might say low IQ Maxine Waters. You start saying all of these things that speak to a segment of people and like, oh, who are the people that bus? Who are Barack Hussein Obama? That doesn't sound American. You start saying that to yourself if you're those people. And
it's like a grooming process.
Right. And this is the type of stuff. See, on those sites, he didn't have to pretend. He didn't have to dog whistle. He could bullhorn because he was with his fellow people. But to understand that that's the mentality that you have, and then you are projecting that mentality to someone who also, obviously birds of a feather flock together. So if you...
Absolutely.
Yeah, if you are Tucker Carlson, and this is someone that you have lauded, like you... I think he was on the 5 one time, and he said that he is one of the reasons why the show is so great. He mentioned him by name. So I can't wait to hear tonight how he spins this. But
Exactly.
I'm sure
what time does his show come on?
I'm not certain. I don't watch it, so
Okay.
I'm not one of the people that contribute to those ratings.
But
yeah.
how is that show? Because let's be honest, it's not like Tucker Carlson doesn't come off as a complete racist himself. He just uses the coded language for saying things. Like he tells people like, oh, they're coming for you, or right. Mexicans take over. They're starting to take over neighborhoods. What if this happens to your neighborhood? There's no such thing. White supremacy doesn't exist. This honestly, what my initial response to it was. Is anyone really surprised? Are we surprised by this? I'm not.
No, I don't think I'm surprised by it. It's just sometimes I like when I'm like, okay, thank you. I know
it's validating.
It's validated.
Tucker gets as close to direct racist rhetoric as you possibly can on a major news network. But not to mention, this is not new for Tucker Carlson to begin with. He was the founder of the website Daily Caller, which is a white nationalist website. They have hosted writings by the guy who organized that Charlottesville rally. They have provided a platform for so many outright racists who are public and vocal about it. So is there any possibility that Tucker did not know who his writer was that has been writing for him for years? Is there any possibility?
No, there's no way. Considering how close they were, they had a relationship, and I'm sure it was very close, know, and the dude was proud of it. Like on those sites, he went by Charles the 12th of Sweden. And the way that they actually found out it was him is they started piecing everything together. So they noticed that Charles 12 went to Dartmouth and Blake Neff went to Dartmouth. They noticed that he had a fellowship with the Collegiate Network, and also Charles 12 had a fellowship. So they just started putting all of these things together, and then they say, oh, that's you. And some of the same opinions and lines that he was speaking on those sites,
and the phraseology as well.
Right. So it was just easy to piece together. And of course, he couldn't deny it. And so when the heads of Fox News found out, which I'm pretty sure they knew. Look, you can't tell me they didn't know. Me and my best friend, my other best friend, not you.
Your other best friend, right? Okay.
We had a conversation about this, trying to sort of deconstruct the incel culture as to, is their anger really coming from the fact that they aren't getting play, And it's weird to think that that is a reason why you are this way. That is just
they said why he came up with the name Charles the 12th, because Charles the 12th, I think, was not into alcohol or women. Right. And this guy thinks that alcohol is poison. And I think he worded it as he's managed to escape women, whatever that means. So that's why he identified with Charles the 12th and used that as his pseudonym.
That is interesting, to say the least.
Let's talk about Fox's handling of this. It's all very questionable to me. So they did put out a statement. The CEO and president, they condemned his statements, and they said that it was horrific and racist, misogynistic, and homophobic. They accepted his resignation, which, if it was my network, I would be wanting to say, we fired his ass.
Right.
That's what I would want. Like, I wouldn't even give him an opportunity.
Again, that to me is another dog whistle. The fact that they accepted his resignation is telling people that believe what he believes, like, oh, you guys know we had to do this, right? Like, that's what they're saying to their people. But to us, it's like, well, he's gone. What else do you want? So anyway.
Now, the other thing, this came out on Friday. Tucker Carlson had a whole show Friday night. And guess what he said?
What? I didn't see
Nothing. Nothing. He could have, if he was surprised, if he was infuriated, outraged, do you think he would have not wanted to immediately say something on the air that this is shocking to me. I would never support anything like this. He said nothing. As a matter of fact, he did a piece on cancel culture. That's what he talked about. Right. My point is, he's not shocked. He's not outraged. And because he would not have handled it this way. I think this is just another example of how white supremacy permeates every single thread of the fabric of our lives. We've seen it. We know about it in policing. We know about it in housing. We know about it in schooling. And the thing is, this show, I will say once again, top rated cable news show of all time. So the people who are watching this then go to their job at the hospital as a nurse or as a doctor, where now they have to treat and care for the lives of Black people and gay people and people of color, or they go to their job at the bank where they're responsible for being able to sign off on a loan for somebody's business, for a trans person or a Latino, or they're teaching your kids in school. And so this is exactly why this movement is necessary, because this is something that permeates every aspect of our culture, and it has to change.
Right. I just struggle to understand that, because I have friends of all walks of life. I just don't get it. I just don't.
Oh yeah. My friend group looks like the United Nations.
Right.
Meetup. And I love that. I love that. It feels just so rich because of that, because it's honestly racism and white supremacy. It's an illness. It's a disease. It is a mental health issue. If
you look across the world, is there racism across the world? Of course there is. But in this country, it is such a disease, and it's like we don't want to fix it, Yeah. And, but anyway.
Okay, moving on. This is a topic that I have been excited to talk about. Biden's potential VP picks.
Yes.
So obviously we all know that Biden committed months ago to picking a woman as his VP. So now, in light of the movement, the racial justice movement that has taken the world by storm, a lot of people are saying that he needs to choose a Black woman as his VP. Black women are basically the backbone of the Democratic Party. They are the most loyal Democratic voters. In the last election, 94% of Black women voted for Hillary Clinton. Right. So there needs to be some representation. Also, one of the major things that needs to be tackled is our racial justice issues. And so right. Who better to be a part of that and to be a part of a task force on that than a Black woman? So that's where this push is coming from. There's a lot of people whose names have been thrown out there, but I just kind of wanted to just mention a few of the top ones. Yeah. Of course, we've got Kamala Harris. She's a senator from California who also ran for the Democratic presidential nomination. We've got Elizabeth Warren, senator from Massachusetts. She also ran for the Democratic presidential nomination. We've got Stacey Abrams. She has been in the Georgia House for 10 years. She was the House Minority Leader for 6 years. We've got Val Demings, who is a congresswoman from Florida. She's got, her background is law enforcement. She has a 27-year career in law enforcement, and she served 4 years as the police chief in Orlando. And Susan Rice, who was the White House National Security Advisor during the Obama administration. And then she was a member of the State Department and the National Security Council during the Clinton administration. So just those are the ones that I kind of would like to sort of focus on. So who you got, Kenny? Who you got? Who you got?
Out of those 5, I'm going to go with Stacey Abrams. Now, I will mention this.
That's why you're my friend.
I will mention that for me, Elizabeth Warren is kind of like a very close second. But Stacey is who I really, really want. And there's several reasons for her going against that pack. Because that pack of women, that's a strong pack.
Oh, it is a strong pack, yeah.
You know, Elizabeth Warren from Massachusetts. Doesn't sound like when you say Massachusetts, it's like you sound drunk, like Massachusetts.
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 Yeah, actually it did. I never noticed that from Massachusetts.
No, the Elizabeth Warren, I've always felt strongly about her. I actually wanted her to run instead of Hillary, like way back when, but I felt like that she wasn't ready yet. And I was like, okay, well, I guess this is Hillary's time. But I've always been a big fan of hers. And so what happened to me with all of those women that were in the running is I started to kind of look at Val Demings. I've never really known, and I don't have anything against her. I just don't know much about her. For me, Susan Rice is also great, but she brings a lot of baggage that the Republicans and conservative base can weaponize. And I think right now we're coasting, and that's probably the last thing that Biden needs is anything that can be weaponized. Right now, we just got to let this thing ride in. And then when it comes to Kamala, she has a laundry list of things. Now, I would preface by saying I wouldn't have a problem per se with Kamala being VP. If he picked her, I'm still voting for him. However, the reason why I know she's probably the front runner, but she's got a lot of sort of questionable things in her record. And also it's also seems like there's some lying that happens with her. You know, so like one of the major things is like there was a story that I read where a police tech in San Francisco was basically stealing drugs from the lab. And God knows what they were doing with the drugs, I'm not sure, but she was the DA at the time. And being the DA and being, the DA and the police are very close knit. And so being the DA, she's sort of like protecting them and withholding evidence and information and things like that from the prosecutor. And this is something that has come up with her on numerous occasions. And so she's had a history of sort of holding exculpatory evidence from her cases to either win them or, something. And that just shows kind of this dishonest pattern that I don't know that I really like. Now, she could have grown and evolved from these things, because these were years ago, but having that history impacts how I feel about who I would want to see as VP. Now, when it comes to Stacey, and I know I'm sorry for getting so long-winded, but I am really excited about Stacey. When it comes to Stacey, so I'll go back. Barack Obama, I think I was 25 when he gave that historic speech at the DNC convention back in 2004. And so back then I was kind of into politics, but not nearly like I am now. And I didn't know anything about him. I was like, oh, who is this guy? This guy's pretty cool, this, that, and the other. And then over time, he just went to the Senate. And then he started making moves in the Senate, started making moves on cable television. And he just grew into this being. And I was, and I felt like, man, I kind of missed that moment because I wasn't aware enough at the time to see what he was about to become. When it comes to Stacey, we're looking at another superstar. And I want a front row seat to seeing this superstar grow. And I feel like I want to be a part of that genesis, and we are watching it happen. And it would be awesome for Biden to recognize that as well. So,
yeah. Stacey she's brilliant. And I think you and I, being here in Georgia, we got to see what happened in 2018 with her gubernatorial run against Kemp. And when I say just the energy and excitement that she inspired within people was so powerful, it was akin to Barack Obama, or even the way that the Bernie bros feel about Bernie, the excitement. It's the type of excitement that I don't see with any of these other candidates.
And she doesn't have baggage. The only baggage that she would kind of have is inexperience. But Barack had inexperience too. A star is a star. Talent overrides that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. She had people here in Georgia just fired up and rallied to vote. And unfortunately, the election was kind of taken from her. There was a huge conflict of interest. She was running against Brian Kemp, who at the time was the Secretary of State. Now, the Secretary of State is responsible for what? Elections and voter registration. And so even after the election, there were hundreds of thousands of voter registrations that were never processed. There was so much fraud that happened, and he was the one that was responsible ultimately for all of this happening. It never should have been allowed to go down that way.
In a normal society, he would have recused himself, but that's just not the world we live in anymore.
Absolutely. And even still, even with that, major problematic conflict of interest, it was still super, super close. She is a brilliant woman. She's progressive. So I think all of those people who did not turn up to vote last time, the people who, the Bernie bros who were pissed and they refused to vote for Hillary, they also are not interested in Biden. And I'm starting to see more and more people say, I'm not voting. And I think Stacey would be a great person to balance that ticket and be able to bring out a lot of these just disenfranchised Democrats who don't feel like their voices are being heard. And Kamala Harris definitely would not do that. You already discussed, Kamala's got major baggage. Val Demings, she has 27 years in law enforcement. Now, given what we are going through right now, I just don't think it makes sense to put a person who has been a police officer, and her track record is very questionable. She has a long-standing reputation of standing by officers for police brutality cases.
Yeah, and see, that's the same thing I brought up about Kamala. It's like in that case with the police tech, you're siding with the police in that instance, and it's
Absolutely.
her recent interviews I've loved. She has been speaking my
Yeah,
language.
she's changed her tune completely.
Yeah.
She's got great talking points now, but I just don't want to ignore people's track
The
records.
past.
And that is exactly what I've seen in my research with Val Demings. Now, again, like Kamala, she's changed her tune after George Floyd was murdered. She did put out a tweet and, you know, talking to her brothers and sisters in Bleu and asking them, what the hell are you doing?
Mm-hmm.
But that's not enough. Now, I will say, for any Black woman to achieve what all of these women have achieved, I can't imagine what they had to go through, the things they had to just sort of accept and deal with. So I don't want to take away that what it cost these women to get to where they got to. So then to sit here sort of and criticize the job that they did. But when we're talking about a vice president and we're talking about our first potentially Black female vice president, and now in this time with the movement, I just want us to really, really be careful. I do like Susan Rice. As we know, she has some vulnerabilities just with, you know, being a part of the Obama administration and the Clinton administration and Benghazi. Obviously, we know that is what will be attacked if Susan Rice is chosen.
They're going right back to that.
But Stacey, again, like you said, Stacey is the one that doesn't have baggage. She, the thing that people will ding her on is her lack of experience because she doesn't have national level experience. She's only been on the state level. But with positions like that, nobody knows exactly and is prepared for everything to be a vice president. You need to be an intelligent person. You need to be a reasonable person with the right disposition, and you need to be able to surround yourself with the right people who are experts in all of the areas. And I 100% trust Stacey's ability to be able to do that. She's an amazing leader. She's progressive, but she's reasonable. And she's a force to be reckoned with. And like you, I'm just excited to continue to watch her grow. I would love to see her be his pick. I would love to see her as our vice president. One of the other things that I really like that Stacey did, there's sort of this thing that people do when their names are put in the hat as a potential vice president. And I don't know, they play coy. You know, and it's just like, you know, it's kind of like disinterested, but sure, I would do it. But my focus is over here. I love the fact that Stacey was like, I'll do it. I'm into it. I would be great at it. I want it. Because you know what? It's fucking honest. It's honest. That's the truth. And she said that she learned as a little girl, you can't want something and not speak up for yourself, especially, she said, when you look like she does. And she knows that there are little Black girls watching her right now. And so she's like, I am going to go after and state what I want. That's the type of honesty and directness that I would like to see in office. Exactly.
And that is why she got along with the Republicans in the Georgia House, because of her earnestness. Like a lot of them had nothing but good things to say about her, you know? And when you have that sort, like similar, I don't know if you've seen this recent ad, that they were putting Lindsey Graham on blast about.
You sent it to me.
Man, and they were putting him on blast about how wonderful of a person Joe Biden is versus how terrible of a person Trump is, and he's out here supporting Trump. And it's like,
but they weren't putting him on blast. They were showing him giving his honest opinions.
They were showing him put himself on blast. Yeah,
exactly.
And so, and it was just like, when you have that good disposition, you're just a good person, it permeates. It doesn't matter what your political affiliations are. If you're a good person, like for me, every time I see John Kasich, he's the governor of Ohio, he's Republican. Every time, I don't agree with him politically, but every time this man speaks and I see him speak, I have nothing but respect for him. And I can tell through my discernment, I'm like, this is a good man. I just know he is. He may not agree with me politically, but he is a good man. And so you just have that feeling, and Stacey gives me that feeling. She is just a good woman.
Oh, right. I'm glad we finally got that out, because I've been wanting to talk about that. Okay, moving on. Let's talk about sports, your favorite subject.
Yes, that is my favorite subject. Well, news that came out today, just to kind of get this out in the open because
Mm-hmm.
it happened today. I'm still finding out about it. Russell Westbrook has contracted the coronavirus, the Rona. I don't know the
Wow.
severity. I don't know if he's asymptomatic or if he's having symptoms like Rudy Gobert did. But he's the first superstar. Like Rudy Gobert was a star; he's well known, but this is a mega
A
star.
big
And
deal. Was he in
big,
the bubble when he got this?
I don't think so. From what I read, I could be wrong about this, but from what I read, he was on his way to Orlando, or either he was
Mm,
already there when they did the testing. Because
they
they did
test, yeah, because they're getting testing every couple
and
of
they did
days or every day. Yeah,
pre-testing as well. So they did
right, of
testing
course.
before they got there, and I think he might have gotten the results. And now I
Mm,
believe he's under quarantine.
wow.
I need a little bit more information to figure out if how he's
How are
feeling.
we, what is the plan for dealing with this? Like, this is, I personally just kind of wish they would just let this NBA season ride, just
They
let it
might need
go.
to.
I mean, it just seems like a recipe for
Well,
disaster. How is it even going to be fair if you're saying superstars, like a team superstar player, can't play?
well, that exactly. And so you've got LeBron, you've got Giannis on the other side, and the Houston Rockets, which is who he plays for, they are a contender. They're a really good team, so they could
Mm-hmm.
totally win. Now, if you take one of their superstars away, LeBron sitting over here with the two superstars, Giannis. I mean, what are
It's
they
like,
supposed to do?
is it real? Like, okay, so they win. Is it real? If
Is
you
it
don't
right?
have all the players, and it's not even, it'd be one thing if they were out to injury. Like if they
Yeah.
got injured in a game and they were out, that's different. This is a pandemic.
Now he could play because this is happening early enough for him to probably quarantine and maybe get on the court. But it
Right.
comes back to that, like, do the other, like as you said, is it possible that he's already infected people
Right.
if they've been practicing? Like, it's just so much going along with this. And then one thing that you had talked about often when it came to this subject is the Black Lives Matter movement.
Mm-hmm.
This is something that is important and that is really moving right now. We are seeing change with our own two eyes. And is it really time for the NBA? Like, can this be something that just waits till next year? Like the Atlanta Dream owner, they wanted to put Black Lives Matter on the court, and Kelly Loeffler, and she
Mm-hmm.
came out against it. And do you recall like anything she said, or did she make any statements or anything?
Does she just, let me see, she's expressed her opposition to the league initiatives that support BLM and the initiatives that include, so yeah, it's displaying Black Lives Matter on the court and honoring women who have died in connection with police violence.
Right.
Like, you've got a problem, you've got a team filled with Black women.
Yep.
And you've got a problem honoring Black women who have been murdered and killed by police brutality. Like, what in the hell? I'm really glad though that 13 of the players put out a tweet.
Yeah.
I'm going to quote this. It says, "Our team is united in the movement for Black lives. It is not extreme to demand change after centuries of inequality. This is not a political statement. This is a statement of humanity." And I'm glad that the players are being vocal and standing together and standing up. Like we talked about last week, how in the NFL, there are no Black owners. 70 to 80% of the players are Black. There is not a single Black owner of a team in the NFL.
Right.
Here, you've got the owner of a team. You've got all these Black women, and you're against supporting initiatives that support them. It just, it doesn't feel right.
Yeah. Also, they go through enough as it is. It's like the disparity in pay, the overseas, like in order for them to even make ends meet, a lot of times they not only do the WNBA season during the summer, but a lot of them travel overseas and play for these other countries and other teams. And so then you get into the bubble and you see the disparity between there's disparity in all levels between the guys, the girls, between the superstars and the not superstars. you're seeing food. Like one of the dishes I saw was like this stir fry zucchini mashup that looked like, it was throw up, not actual food.
Oh,
And I mean, it was terrible. And then you look at LeBron, and this is nothing against LeBron. I like LeBron, but he's up there with sushi that was gourmet and like all of these different things. And he's in a plush room, of course, because he's LeBron. But I'm like, if you are taking these families and you're putting them in a bubble, taking them away from the rest of the world, they're only really surrounded by each other. When you're doing all of this, and then you go in and you see the women conditions, like
you sent me an article that said there were bed bugs,
mouse traps in these rooms. The laundry room looks like an episode, like a Saw movie. Like it's
oh no.
It's sad.
I mean, it seems like the accommodations should be at least to the level of what their homes are.
Exactly.
Like
right. And the thing is what they're shelling out for this doesn't seem that crazy, in comparison to what they actually have, the NBA. And so I wonder, like, why there's just no reason for the women to be treated this way. There's just no reason for it. That's just my opinion. There's no reason for them not to have either equal or, at the very least standard accommodations, as opposed to living with bed bugs, mouse traps, and, murder chambers. Like, come on, man.
Murder chambers.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah. I mean, I understand, like you said, that the conflict in terms of like the revenue that, the NBA brings in versus the WNBA, but they can do better. Big news coming out of the NFL this week. Patrick Mahomes signed the biggest contract in all of sports history. $503 million over 10 years.
I could not believe that. Obviously that's never happened. I was going to say I've never seen that before, but it's not.
I was going to say, but could you imagine, like, even growing up, or even that you would see not only just a black player, getting a $500 million contract.
Well, I 36. He'll be 36 when his contract ends. I would just retire. I would just be like, all right. It's been real. But, they're projecting him right now to be, and God forbid he gets hurt, but they're projecting him to be better than Tom and better than Joe Montana. So those are kind of the consensus two best quarterbacks in history. And they're already saying that Patty Mahomes. Okay. They're already saying that. So I think they're seeing his value. And he is beloved, beyond beloved.
He's a good guy. I really like him. I really like him. He seems like he's a good guy. You don't hear about any mess off the field. He's not a showboater. He's not crazy cocky. He keeps his head down and he does his job and he kills it. He kills it week after week, and he is so exciting to watch.
And he sounds like Kermit the Frog.
What? You think so?
You never heard him talk? He's like,
I've heard him talk many times. I never thought he sounded like Kermit. Damn, Kenny.
But no, it's funny because he can't do anything. Like, on his contract, he can't motorbike, he can't go on a jet ski. Basketball.
He said he assumes that he can't play basketball or baseball. He said, I think I'm just going to be playing football and video games, playing Madden, playing football and Madden. I was actually really, really proud of him when the protests, the Black Lives Matter protests, started about a month ago, that he stepped up and that he was vocal. He's the golden boy of the NFL, obviously. Right. And he and a bunch of other players came out with a video where they took the NFL to task. And they said, we, the players, demand that you take a stance and that you condemn racism and racial violence. We demand that you apologize for the way that you've treated the players when they've tried to silently protest, i.e. Cap. No, and it was right after that when Roger Goodell came out and did exactly that. Their demands were met. And that video would have not had the impact that it had if Patrick Mahomes had not been a part of it.
Right.
I mean, they are not trying to do anything to get, to alienate themselves from Patrick Mahomes. So a lot of people think that him taking that stance was a major thing in the NFL turning around and
100%.
making the statements that they did.
Because like you said earlier, he is beloved by everyone. I've never talked to anyone that's like, oh, I hate Patrick Mahomes. That just hasn't happened in my life yet. So that's a good thing he's taking a good stand.
So Patrick Mahomes came in 2017. He was the number 10 draft pick, I think, that year. And he was a backup quarterback his first year. And then second and third year, he just came out swinging, killing it. It reminds me of, somebody who I think is about 6 years his senior, Cam Newton. Who in 2011, he was the number 1 draft pick and he was hot and then plagued by injuries and his career has tanked. And now to juxtapose the deal that Cam just got, a 1-year contract with the Patriots for the league minimum. He came out number 1 draft pick and was a superstar. And now here he is with league minimum. And so I think that type of thing, I love Patrick Mahomes' attitude. He's very humble. He knows that he just needs to stay healthy. He didn't complain about not being able to do his activities that he loves so much. It's just an interesting comparison about what can happen. What is on the line for these guys. And
that begs the question too, because I'm not sure of this yet, but I don't know how much is guaranteed. I'm sure he's got a portion of that money guaranteed.
You're talking about
Patrick Mahomes.
He's got $477 guaranteed.
Oh, $477 is guaranteed. Okay.
Yep.
That's pretty good. And then the other 26.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Incentives. Yeah.
Man, that is phenomenal. So that means even if he does get hurt, he still has his money. And I think the reason why the Chiefs decided to go this route is they're a small market team. And it's very difficult in this day and age to keep your players. Like one of the big things happening in the NBA right now is Giannis, who plays for the Milwaukee Bucks, is rumored to be swirling around going to like the Golden State Warriors or to a contender if the Bucks, he can't get over with the Bucks. And that is he's like one of the best. Him and LeBron are probably the 2 best players in the league at the moment. And for him to be even rumored to be considering going somewhere else, it just shows you that small market teams they don't have a lot of luck, when it comes to keeping star players. And so I think the Chiefs are like, no, we're keeping you.
You're going to be here for the long haul.
Yeah. I'm glad he accepted it too, because he didn't have to. Some players don't like to do that, even with all that money. But I think guaranteeing that money, that's a huge step in the right direction.
Yeah, and he just talked about like it secures the future generations of his family. I mean, not only himself, not only his kids to come, but his kids' kids and their kids.
Right.
I mean,
just
that level of security is something that you just can't, you can't just shrug that off. So I just don't think it could have happened to a better guy. I'm really excited. Now, I'm biased because, I'm a football gal. I'm much more into football than basketball. I'm excited about the NFL season, but if we're in a situation where it seems like it's just not going to work because of the pandemic, I'm willing to let it go and let's focus on the movement. But I can't wait to see them out there again. I can't wait to see Mahomes jersey up. I'm also excited to see what Cam is going to do with the Patriots.
I am too. I mean, the Patriots do have a history of not paying very well. That is a history that they own. So I think Cam is like, looking at it as a mutual thing. He's going to learn a lot with that organization because it's Belichick. And I think he's excited regardless of his contract.
I don't know about that personality fit though.
I know it's going to be interesting. I've
been concerned about that from the first. I was like, Cam with the Patriots. how is that going to work?
You know, I'm interested because like before Randy Moss went to the Patriots, he had that same sort of stigma about him, you know, and he went there and he came out a changed man. Like he's a totally different person than before he went to the Patriots. So
yeah, he got that Belichick up in him.
Right.
Oh, that sounded bad. I didn't mean to say that. I'll cut, edit, delete. But yeah, Kenny Ken, I think that's all I got.
That's what's up, man. That is what's up. Well, Nico, it's been a fascinating week. You got anything to say to the people?
I do, Kenny. I want to just make the acknowledgement. Today is July 13th. It's exactly 4 months since Breonna Taylor was murdered at home. She was murdered on March 13th. And so it is exactly 4 months. And everybody that was responsible and complicit in her murder is still walking around completely free. And that is a travesty. We have to keep fighting and pushing, because what they always try to do is just, they want us to forget about it and just move on and get caught up in basketball and get caught up in the football season when that starts. And we cannot let that happen. So yeah, that's just on my heart today with this 4-month anniversary. So yeah, please take some action.
Thank you, Nico. No, that was excellent. And yeah, I'm gonna follow you on that. All right, guys, we've reset the week. Until next time. See you later.
All right. Peace.